Hello, and welcome to another episode of Creed Got Robbed. This is Mike, and I have a special guest with us here today. We go way back. This is my friend Celia.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, Celia is super cool, and she likes movies. And
I do.
She knows actually quite a little bit about movies, because she went to school for screenwriting. So I thought, hey, I do a dumb podcast where I yell about movies. Why don't I invite someone on here who knows how to yell about movies smartly?
Ooh, smart yelling. That's my favorite kind of yelling.
Yes, the smartest of yelling.
Ooh, yes. I'm Mr. Burns fingering right now.
Oh my. Phrasing. It's too late. It's too late.
That was terrible phrasing. Leave it in.
We're leaving it in. Too late. It's okay. Well, I'm gonna ask Celia a couple things. And we're going to just talk about whatever. But, as is tradition here on our podcast known as Creed Got Robbed, our ongoing mission here is to relitigate the 2016 Oscars, in which a film directed by Ryan Coogler, starring Michael B. Jordan, known as Creed. It's actually, a continuation of the Rocky series. I want to say it maybe got robbed, and and I'm trying to, correct this injustice. So the first question I have to ask you, Celia, was Creed robbed?
Yes, Creed was robbed. And you know what? For someone who went to school for screenwriting, I actually don't see a lot of Oscar movies because I'm poor and it costs like $16 to go see a movie in LA. But last year, the woman I was working for gave me like all of her screeners, so I actually watched all the Oscar movies, and I can tell you that Creed was absolutely robbed. Thank you.
Because I don't know if I've seen all of them from 2016, but I know I watched. We went to go see The Revenant, and it's just like, I guess I liked it, but man, Leo's not even the best actor in this movie, and it's just so far up its own.
I know.
It's like, it was good, but it was, oh jeez, it was just so full of itself. It's like, let's just have these gratuitous, look at this water dripping onto this leaf, and it's like, this has nothing. I appreciate it. It's very beautiful, but technically that movie, is cool. It's like, oh, they shot it with natural light. That's crazy. That's stupid. No one does that. But it was not a very good movie. And then Spotlight, was just a nice episode of Law and Order.
Yeah, I respect that it won for best cinematography. It deserved it. And I respect that Leo won the Oscar for lead. But beyond that, I was like, you could honestly watch the first 10 minutes of the movie, the 10 minutes when he gets attacked by a bear, and the last 10 minutes, and you would not miss anything about the plot.
Yeah, exactly. It's just not, it's just, I get it, but it's just, man, it was like half an hour. It felt like it was just 20 minutes too long. It just kept going.
Yeah.
These are, I enjoyed both these films, but the problem here is that Creed did not even get nominated.
I know.
It's such a crime. Crime. It's an American tragedy.
It was an American.
Yeah.
Well, except Sylvester Stallone got nominated, right? That was the one thing.
It was the one nomination. Let's nominate the one white guy.
Did he win? I don't even remember. Did he win?
I want to say.
Maybe I should have looked up Creed before I went on this podcast, but
it's okay.
I really can't remember if he won.
Fact checking. It's gonna be great. I know. Yes. I definitely know he was not. He was nominated for a supporting actor, which I think was. I think he did a great job. I think it's this is a kind of a weird way to think about this movie, but I always keep going back to just how hammy and just not well crafted Creed could have been, and it's just
agreed.
It's just so how they just freaking nailed it in just so many different ways. Good Lord. Why can I not find this? My Lord. I am just trying to stall as crazily as I can, and I just cannot find it.
You've just gotta just do Wikipedia 2016 Oscars, or maybe it's 2015.
He was nominated, but he He did not win the
Oh,
Oscar. He
he
did
lost
win
to
the
that
Golden
guy.
Globe.
He lost to that guy in
Oh, and Bridge of
Bridge of
Spies.
Spies,
That's
yeah,
right.
which I didn't see. I lied. I didn't see every Oscar movie. I did not watch Bridge of Spies.
Because that's why. Oh, because I remember that one. Because like everybody audibly gasped when the Bridge of Spies guy won because Sylvester Stallone didn't win because oh yeah, Creed got robbed.
Exactly. I feel like that happens like at every award show though. There's always like some random ass like out of left field person who wins. Like at the Golden Globes, it was that French actress in like Elle or whatever this year that was just
Oh yeah,
ran in and stole lead actress. Like there's always some random ass thing that happens at every
I know.
award show.
Well, yeah, and then then the Oscars we will never forget happened. It's looking. I mean, it's
Right.
like so long ago now, but god damn it, that was so funny. That's just so hilarious. Like, how do you bet that? It's just you have one. It's like
It's the epitome of
like
you
when
had one job.
it's no, it's like that man. Literally, like you say, like you have one job that you probably have like 20 different jobs, but it's like no,
Right.
literally,
This
you have
guy
like actually just one job.
truly just one job.
But it's okay. I don't mind. Honestly, I don't mind more professional wrestling style antics in things that don't have antics.
Yeah, I was
Like,
also really,
I
really
don't know.
glad. I was also really glad that it was a non-millennial who fucked something up because they were on their phone. It was like really
Finally,
nice for it to be
finally.
like a 60-year-old man.
Oh, see, it was like, oh, he was on his cell. I saw the PricewaterhouseCooper the other day is like, oh, well, the people who man the envelopes from now on won't be using their cell phones, and it's like, oh Lord, you're right. It would have been a disaster if it was like a millennial. And so it's like, oh,
Yeah.
the millennials probably just like playing Angry Snap Bird or something. I don't
Yeah,
know.
the think pieces that would have happened had it been a millennial would have been numerous.
We would have been drowning in just medium style just pieces for days. Like, no, these takes. Keep these on Twitter. That's where these things belong. Go put them back. But we made it. The best movie won.
Yes.
So.
Well, you know what? And Moonlight is I only saw Moonlight and Arrival this year, and Moonlight was one of the best movies. Speaking of good screenwriting, that movie was incredible. Like just
Oh my gosh. Like, yeah, I mean, we had talked about it before, but it's just like, I mean, how so much like, I guess this is kind of a good segue because I wanted to kind of talk to you about some screenwriting stuff.
Mhm.
I really appreciate how, like, Moonlight did such a good job of, yeah. I mean, the adage is always show don't tell. I think sometimes people forget that they're not making a radio play, like they're making a movie.
right.
And I thought Moonlight was so good about just showing you just like little details that told so like gave you so much information.
Yeah, absolutely. And something people often take show don't tell really literally, like show through visuals rather than tell through dialogue, but there's also like in that movie show don't tell going on within the dialogue. Like very subtle but powerful dialogue that's not overt but sends a very, very strong message. Like the scene at the dinner table when he's it's in the first part when he's still a kid and he talks to his mentor about what the F word means. That was like a super powerful, great scene.
Yeah, and like the whole first act had been kind of building to that, and then, and I really, and just I guess some of the other parts like later in the film how they, I mean how he's like, hey, don't call me black, but then like chapter 3 like, or like I guess like movement 3 if you want to call it, like it opens up with like it's like 3 black, and you're like just that before you even see anything, like just knowing that it's like, hey, when he established like don't call me black, and then chapter 3 is called black, you're like you don't like before you even hear the trap music, like the car, the grills, before any of that comes up, like just that word tells you so much about like this person. Like we're not going to see the Chiron that we know, like just from that. And I thought like, I mean, obviously the those kind of other details just really ram home just how how tragic it is. But it's just like just from that hint, I thought was like really smart of like man, I don't think I'm gonna like what I'm about to see. And it
Yeah,
was really heartbreaking.
it really was. And like, yeah, I mean, the evolution of his identity on like so many different levels was so powerful. Like, I mean, not only like it's like not only his like identity as a gay man, but also as a black man, and also as the son of a drug addict, and also as just a man in general. It was really powerful, really well done, and like it didn't seem like a formulaic movie, but it was totally formulaic because, like you said, that just
Mhm.
that cut into Act 3 was like super sent a super strong message and was super formulaic.
Yeah, definitely. And um, yeah, it just like I just really appreciated just how. I mean, cause this is something I kind of do sometimes, where it's just like it's really easy to think of a version of that movie that is just really, I guess, what's the word, like gratuitous, kind of like the
Yeah,
Lifetime version of that
heavy
movie
handed.
that just yeah, and I feel like that kind of in the kind of subject matter is something that would be really easy to be heavy-handed about if you're not careful. But
Totally.
it's this movie is just not at all. Like it doesn't try and do like a Crash style like just over like this applies to all people of color. Like I think it did a really good. Like it was so so grounded and so like focused
Mm-hmm.
and I think I mean and it's still the message of the film I think is still really universal, but I really appreciated how they weren't they resisted the temptation to kind of expand beyond just Chiron, and I think kept
Yeah.
keeping it so focused on him just made that movie so much more effective.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. And I also thought that okay, and as a straight person, this will sound, like I'm just whatever navel gazing, but I thought that they did a really really great job handling his homosexuality, like specifically
mhm.
like the very last one of the very last scenes when he's in the diner with his old friend. Like when I watched it with my friend after we stopped, I turned to her and I was like, that was really like one of the most romantic scenes I've ever seen in a movie, and it was between two men, and you just don't see that. Like you see men who are like closeted and have sexual tension between each other, and you see like overtly sexual scenes between gay men, but you rarely see something that's just like
Yeah,
romantic and sweet. And it really caught me off guard because I was just like, wow, I didn't even realize that I'd never seen a scene like that before in a movie.
yeah, definitely. Like I mean, yeah, you just pretty much said it there. Just how like again, it's just like it would have been really easy to just like, oh, we really these people won't get it if we don't do something really gratuitous, but just like having just knowing that people would be able to. I mean, I guess that it's just so much more familiar, like that kind of intimacy. Like it's like it was really nice just to see that they didn't do the. I guess I don't want to say took the easy road, but they did something that I think that might be that wouldn't be something. It's something that we hadn't seen before, and I really appreciate and that to not be afraid to go with that and to stick to their guns. There, I thought was. I mean, it's hard to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And that director, and I cannot remember his name, which is really
I believe
bad,
it's
but that
Barry
director,
Jenkins.
what'd you say?
I believe Barry Jenkins. I believe.
He worked really hard to get this movie made and to like get on the map. Like, I mean, he like had like numerous shorts before he was allowed to do Moonlight, and like that movie was like, to give you an example of like how that's bullshit, is like Damien Chazelle, the guy who did La La Land,
Hmm.
got to do
I mean, he had
Whiplash
Whiplash,
after only
and then
having that one short, and then he got La La Land. Like Barry
with
Jenkins
a
had like
yeah,
much, he had like a great body of work before this, and I mean, it really shows in Moonlight in comparison to
yeah,
like
and
Whiplash, which is a movie that I did think was gratuitous, and I wasn't a huge fan of, but
yeah, and I mean, I really I enjoyed Whiplash, and I
mm-hmm.
enjoyed La La Land, but I think it's I think a complaint that I sometimes hear about Whiplash and kind of go, okay, maybe they're onto something here. It's like it kind of feels like a sports movie in a lot of ways, and it's like I guess I mean
Yeah.
because we're both musicians, so it's like some it's like so sometimes it's kind of hard to like it's kind of hard to like think about it to kind of separate that musician part of your brain from like what I know personally as like what doesn't reflect in that movie. And I think that's and sometimes, especially with like with La La Land, there's a lot of things about like only Ryan Gosling can save jazz because jazz is in a bad spot. It's like no, jazz is fine, but
Yeah.
it's just like you just have to be like super duper uncynical, and with those movies. But it kind of going back to the point here, like just looking at like the budgets, like La La Land had a $30 million budget,
Yeah.
and Moonlight had a $5 million budget, which I thought was, it just
Yeah.
kind of again reinforces your point. I think it's, hopefully, I think it's going to open the doors, and it shows that people, I think people are willing to embrace movies that that are more niche, and then that doesn't mean that that you can tell really good stories that are really specialized and well crafted and
Right.
might not on the surface might not apply to a lot of like
Mm-hmm.
that might not have a lot of like mass appeal, but do have a really universal message kind of buried within.
Yeah, and it's sad that like movies like Moonlight are seen as niche because they are so human. Like I like
Mm,
movies like The Avengers aren't seen as niche, even though like I don't identify with like a superhero with like magical capabilities who can save the world. I identify much more with a kid who doesn't like who can't quite figure out his place in his own neighborhood. You know what I mean? Like that's so much more
mm.
universal than the movies that they throw out right now that they call universal, you know.
Yeah,
But
definitely. And kind of going into like another topic, like speaking of like larger movies, like a lot of times I'm sure you probably you see things in movies that are yeah, as someone who writes, who does some screenwriting, like things that just make you face palm. So I guess what are some of you like just generally like what are some of, I mean this is a pretty, there's a lot to kind of go in here obviously,
yeah.
so like we don't have to spend all day on this, but like what are some of the, I guess the pitfalls that I guess that you see a lot of movies, a lot of maybe these bigger movies, since they're probably the culprits here, that like what do you see them kind of falling into a lot?
Well, I mean, the number one most important thing in any movie is character. Like a movie can
Mm-hmm.
be about anything. Like it could be about your favorite, if your favorite thing to do is play soccer and your favorite thing to do is watch soccer movies, you're only going to enjoy a movie about soccer if you can relate to the characters. Like it could be the most soccery movie ever, but if you
Mm-hmm.
don't like the main character, you're going to fucking hate it even though you love soccer. And like that's something that people just consistently can't seem to get, is that if their characters aren't relatable, that doesn't mean they have to be likable. It doesn't mean they have to look like you or sound like you or have your experience of the world, but if they're not
Mm-hmm.
relatable, if you can't put yourself in their shoes for a moment, and if you can't relate to anything they're doing, then your movie sucks. No matter how cool the CGI is, no matter how impressive the plot is, if your
Mm-hmm.
characters just aren't there, it's garbage, which is a big problem in TV too. But
Yeah, definitely.
especially I
Like
find people like funneling a lot of time into their main character in a way that's very face palmy, and then their supporting characters all end up just being sounding boards, like really really flat.
mm-hmm.
Like they don't have a journey of their own kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. Like I think what was my, I guess one kind of example I would think of a movie that didn't really fall into this was a movie I really liked last year. It was called The Nice Guys, um, from Shane Black. It was like the Ryan Gosling. Oh my gosh, I can't remember
Gladiator
his name.
guy. Yeah. Oh,
Gladiator. Yeah,
what's his name? Oh,
Russell Crowe.
yeah, Russell
There
Crowe.
we go. I was like, oh, and Gladiator, of course.
That guy. Yeah.
I think because definitely like you just mentioned, like with side characters and how a lot of times they can be kind of cardboard.
Yeah.
Ryan Gosling's character has a daughter in the film who I think as soon as you meet her, you kind of here's the kid in the movie, okay, but she's like whip smart and and becomes and it could easily be a side kind of a side story character, but it becomes a really great part of the story.
Yeah.
And I think just one a little detail I thought was really great that they go into her room at one point and you see and she's sitting down and she's like wall to wall she has like all these Nancy Drew books.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, you can miss it, but I saw that and I was like, oh, like of course you would have Nancy Drew books. Like it just made so much sense. So I thought I thought she was a really good example of someone of like a side character not being railroaded and having those Nancy Drew books I thought was really it just gave me more insight into her character, in a way that was actually show don't tell correctly.
Yeah.
And just added that much more depth to her, which I thought was really, really appreciated. That's really good.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go off on I'll go back to that, but I'm gonna go off on a slight tangent that children fall into that pitfall of a shitty side character so often, to the point where you wish that they would die. In Walking Dead. Do you watch Walking Dead at all?
I watched the first season, but I fell off the wagon after the second season. And I have a whole kind of this is something I haven't ranted about actually. I'm going to sidetrack off your sidetrack. I just have a problem with the cycle of The Walking Dead. It's okay, Rick finds people, Rick solves problem, everything is okay. Just kidding, everything's bad. Somebody dies. Rick goes somewhere else.
That
Rick
is my
finds
biggest
new people.
I stopped watching this season because I could not stand Rick coming back and saving the day one more fucking time. The guy has to fall down and have someone pick him up once, just once. But anyway, there was a character last season or 2 seasons ago, this little boy who was a main character in the season, but they did not bother to develop him in any meaningful way and just made him this whiny little bitch. So that, when he died on screen, the whole fandom was yes, thank God they killed off this annoying little boy who could have been a great, character, who could have, been someone that we all related to and loved, but instead, they just turned him into, a flat, whiny, annoying child. But, back to your talk about kids in movies, I actually watched the other day a movie that had really, really great side characters who were children. I don't know if you've ever seen Short Term 12.
No, I haven't. I know a lot of... It's been getting a lot of kind of buzz lately because, I think Alison Brie's in that movie.
It's Brie Larson. Brie Larson is the one you're thinking of.
Brie Larson, not Alison Brie. Alison Brie's that lady from Community.
Well, this movie came out, I think, in 2012, 2013, and I hadn't seen it, but people had been telling me to watch it for a long time, so the other night I just sat down and watched it, and that movie has tons of kid characters because they work at, a teen help facility kind of thing, and every single one of those kids has a distinct personality, and you see it even if they're only on screen for 5 minutes of the whole movie, you know exactly who they are. And for that reason, that movie could have been really gratuitous in the way that it could, all these children are just props and the adults, it's all about the adults and it's all about their struggles, but no, they did a really, really excellent job of not doing that.
This kid, he's 2 days away from retirement, it's just oh boy, here we go.
Right. They did a really good job, which I feel this happens a lot, especially when dealing with mental health on screen. A lot of times people just become their mental health problem, or they become whatever problem or flaw, if you want to call it that they have. But in this movie they really made them, obviously their trauma kind of defined who they were, but they did a really, really excellent job making them rounded characters as well. So that's one of my biggest pet peeves, is when people just kind of dissolve into their whatever problems they have.
I think that I'm trying to think of, I know I think there's a show called Homeland that's been going on for a while. I think I only watched the first season of it. I don't know if you ever saw it.
Yeah, I
But
haven't checked that
the
out
main
yet.
character, she's definitely, they kind of really fall into that because she, it's like it's more about what the only conflict that kind of like it was a pretty interesting, but it's like the conflict of whether or not she took her meds just becomes like it's just exhausting because it's like no, just I don't. And they really, I feel like they really fell into that kind of like, oh, like this person's mental struggles is like the only thing interesting. Otherwise,
Right.
she would. It's like the only problem she would encounter is because if she was a normal person, she would just we wouldn't have a story.
Right.
So it's just kind of exhausting. It's like, oh,
let me remind you that this person has a mental illness every 5 minutes. And I mean, like, back to Moonlight, like, Moonlight did a really great job of being like, he's a person who happens to be gay. Like, it wasn't like, even though the movie was kind of about him being gay, it wasn't all about him being, you know what I mean? Like, it was never like, let's remind you that he's gay over and over and over and over again. It was never like definitely.
That. And this actually reminds me because I was really since we're kind of on this topic. We recently went to go see the Power Rangers movie.
Oh yeah.
And I have a lot of things to say about that movie.
I haven't seen it yet.
I remarked to Josh the other day, just like there's a character who's literally winking at the screen, like literally, like it's literally winking, like.
Oh my god!
I don't know why I just did that, but
yeah,
but there's, I mean, one of the one of the characters in the film, Billy, is actually he's on the spectrum, and they did a shockingly good job. Like I wasn't expecting it, but they did a really good job of like, him still being a character who can solve problems other than, oh no, my crippling spectrumness. Yeah, and, I think they did it felt really, I mean, it was believable, but it wasn't the only thing about him. And I think I guess I just wasn't expecting
Power Rangers to be that woke.
Like the Power Rangers movie to get it. I was like, what the fuck? What is this?
Yeah,
what if that movie's like I'm literally speechless about that movie, but like not in a good way.
Yeah,
I don't know. Oh my god!
But however, they did do that right, which is good to hear that they did that part right. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. But me and my roommate really wants to see it, so I'm sure I'll see it at some point. But I saw Beauty and the Beast last night. So have you seen that yet?
Yes, we did. My wife and I went to go see that a couple weeks ago.
I have a thought about that as far as wink wink at the screen goes. I mean, come on, Josh Gad's character, that was like it. Like, it was just like, I'm gay, I'm gay, I'm gay, I'm gay, I'm gay, I'm gay, I'm gay. Not like, I am a person with my own hopes and dreams. It was like, I am gay and I love Gaston, and it literally like blinds me to all his other flaws. And I'm just like, all right.
And it's like, I guess the kind of, yeah, it was like very literally like a caricature.
Yeah.
And yeah. But I mean, besides, the really disappointing thing about that film is that obviously Gaston was not roughly the size of a barge. I mean,
right. I mean, they did do that really like over the top moment where he lifted up two people at the same time to try to, make it seem that way, but it didn't really work.
Barges can carry multiple people. You might be.
Yeah. Why didn't they cast like Jason Momoa or something as Gaston? Then he would have been roughly the size of a barge. Truly.
That's a great question.
Yeah, no, I actually enjoyed that movie. I mean, it was like delightful, as all Disney movies are. I don't think I've ever seen a Disney movie that wasn't delightful, except maybe like Pocahontas' Journey to the New World. But I mean, I liked it. I don't know. I thought they added stuff to it that was really kind of unnecessary. Like going back in time to Paris to see where her mother died. Like that was the most what the hell thing I've ever seen in a movie.
It's like, are you sad yet? It's like, okay, I get it.
That book.
I haven't seen the animated version in quite a while. So some of that stuff I'm like, I don't think I remember this, but I don't really remember. I
Yeah,
don't really know.
that's something that I also really really hate in screenwriting when like they shoehorn something in so obviously like it's clear that like when they mapped out the movie they didn't have that in mind and then they just like shoehorned it in because there were all those like well first of all there was that stupid teleporting book that came up one time never was used again like and then
It's like, wait, we can solve so many problems with this. Wait a minute, what the?
Exactly, and then it goes away, and then the only other time it's brought up is that in that weird scene when they're in the wagon, and she's like, "By the way, I found out how Mom died," and he's like, "How'd you find out?" And she's like, "Well, I went back in time," and he just doesn't even question it. Like he's like, "I'm glad you know now that your mother died of the plague." That is one of the most annoying things in screenwriting. That yeah, it's just it's like a complete oversight of like. And it's like and another problem with it is like you have the magic mirror like why don't you just use that like you added in this whole other like really complicated element when you could have just used the mirror and had her be like show me my mother and then she could have had like this little like scene where she sees like, her mother dying like she didn't have to go back in time.
It's not a very like efficient use of dialogue, I guess.
No, also it inspired the worst new song in the whole movie. That one where they're in the windmill singing. Oh my god, that was terrible. But that's music related. That's not screenwriting related.
I mean, again, it's not Be Our Guest or the Guest On song, so I mean, right. Sorry.
Also, there was that weird moment in Be Our Guest when they were like in like a club. You know, like the very end of Be Our Guest when all of a sudden it was like laser show, like neon staircase.
Things got weird. I was like, I was just kind of sitting there, just like yeah. Oh, like I cannot take any more stimulation. Like, oh my god, it was kind of. It's like,
I know. Oh my god.
I enjoyed it. But it was just like, oh dear God, hang on, Jones, we're almost there.
Okay, but I need to ask you, what was your favorite part of the whole movie? Because I have a very specific moment in my mind. That was my absolute favorite part, and I need to know if you agree. What is it? What's your favorite part?
My favorite part.
Okay, if you don't know off the top of your head, you don't know. My favorite part of the whole movie is when she gets absolutely nailed in the face with that snowball.
It's like, well, maybe you shouldn't throw snowballs.
That caught me.
Weird castles, Belle.
My friends and I like laughed for like 5 minutes after that because we were just caught so off guard by it. Like it just like didn't make any sense with like the tone of the movie, and it was so funny. Ugh.
Because she really got nailed. Just like
yeah, like it wasn't just like a playful like hee got some snow in my hair. It was like probably maybe broke her nose. Like that's how aggressive it was.
Hey, it's called Beauty and the Beast, not Beauty and the. You know.
Yeah.
Beast gonna beast, Celia. That's just how it goes.
That's true. He is the beast.
You just gotta be ready.
And also, I did see. Wait, did you see? Okay, never mind. Go ahead. I'll let you keep your podcast on track.
No, you're fine. I was gonna say we I guess because you've mentioned to me that you have been watching a lot of horror movies lately, and I was just thinking, well, how could we work that in? But then fortunately we should talk about that trailer for It because
so cool.
Holy crap! That looks pretty all right.
Yeah, I thought. I mean, I was not expecting much from that movie. I've never seen the original, actually, the TV movie from whatever, like 1990, and I had never really wanted to see it because clowns really aren't my thing. But that trailer was incredible, partially because there was like some new stuff going on, like. A lot of times horror movies will reuse like the same scare elements over and over again. And I mean, they can't really help it because there's only so many ways you can scare people. But like that projector thing was sweet.
Oh, I was just about to mention that. Like, I thought, I thought that was just super. I mean, that's all. If the trailer was just that, I would have been like, oh, I'm so in, because like,
yeah.
I mean, I just love that kind of like. I mean, first of all, that setting of just like kind of that's the summer, like 1983.
Yeah.
We're kids. We have bikes and can go around until like midnight because parents in the 80s or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I kind of like that. Obviously, Stranger Things is drawing a lot from film Spielberg and Stephen King, but it just felt that vibe is I think very strong in this movie. And man, that scene was.
Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
thought that was so cool. Have you ever read the webcomic Dawn Ghost?
No, I haven't.
Okay, well it reminded me of this anime comic that like when you scroll it like does this really ingenious thing where like when you scroll down it like makes your browser stuck and you can't scroll past it.
Is it that one Korean one?
Yes, where there's that scary face.
Oh no.
That's exactly what it reminded me of.
Ah!
Yeah, you're gonna have to look it up again. But that's what it reminded me of.
Oh, it's so horrible. Oh, why would you remind me of that?
But sorry, I just ruined your whole week. But something else that I knew I was in on the trailer. Like I knew I was like, this is awesome when they showed that really iconic scene where he looks in the sewer and sees the clown, and the clown actually scared the shit out of me. Like when you see the screenshot from the original movie, it looks like it's like Ronald McDonald in a well telling the kid like, "Come to McDonald's." Like it's not scary at all. But
it's
this
like,
clown was like,
"Hi, Tim Curry." Like,
yeah,
you're hamming it up down there. Can I come hang out with you?
Yeah, exactly. But this is like
no. Also, probably when Georgie was running and then just hit the I guess like the municipality like barrier thing, just like clocked right into it. It's like, okay, kids falling down. Okay, I'm kind of into this.
I'm in.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think it looks so awesome, which I'm happy about.
I think it just looks good. Like I think I really like the style that they have, and the score. I mean, the score obviously is like the trailers are kind of have a lot of different music than like the final film, but man, so just the score was just like I was watching this like I watched the trailer like at work when I first saw it, and then I decided to watch it when I was in the house by myself, on my computer. It's like, nope, I can't not do this. I'm done. I'm out. I can't. I just I'm gonna cut my losses. I'm gonna stop right there.
Yeah, no, it was truly like one of the scariest shows I've seen in a long time, and I was really happy with it too because it's such like a simple concept. Like there's a clown who's murdering people, and like I like the projector thing was like a really fresh scare, but like for the most part it was like really simple, like solid horror stuff. Like it wasn't anything like over the top. Like you find a lot of times now like horror movies will like
it's like murder
be like
porn.
super over the top with things because they feel like they have to be new, but sometimes like it's that old school scare stuff that's the best of all. But I mean, speaking of like keeping it simple, I don't know if you've seen It Follows. Did you see that?
Yes, I have. Yes.
That's like a good example like of a movie that embodies that like less is more, keep things simple. I mean, it's a really fresh concept, but like it's like at the same time like the simplest movie you've ever seen, which is why it was so good.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I really like I really liked It Follows. I think man, like I mean, just like it was really just they have a really simple concept.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of understand. You kind of are learning the rule. Like it's paced well because you're learning the rules of this thing.
Right.
Kind of along with the characters. And then and visually, it never got old for me when, the camera's panning and you're like, wait, what was that person in the background? And then by the time it loops around again, you're like, oh, fuck, go, that's the thing, that's right there. Oh.
Yeah, that scene with the old lady. Oh my god, the scene with the old lady walking toward her when she's in class. Oh my god, that's so good.
It's so good. And plus the I was I really like that composer. His name is Disasterpiece. I think he's done like a couple of games.
Mm-hmm.
scores, and he did that. He did the soundtrack for It Follows. So I have it was like a kind of a Spotify station that kind of plays some of his stuff sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, just kind of at work reading, and then all of a sudden the It Follows soundtrack, like with the like that. Dun, 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 dun. I was like,
Oh,
oh,
and you were like,
oh no, no, I'm at work. There's so many people just walking around aimlessly.
oh yeah, that.
This is so bad. Oh no.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that score like really just took it. I mean, that movie would have been good without a good score, but that score just like took it to like a level that like I didn't even know could exist. So good. But I mean, like,
Yeah, I
have you seen in any of the Insidious movies?
Yeah, I think it's been a while, but I think I watched the first one. It's kind of like a poltergeisty kind of thing, right?
Yeah, a little bit. And that I was just gonna say, like, that movie has an incredible score, like really, really effective. Um, so that's another good example. That movie is I really like Insidious. I think I like It Follows more, partially because It Follows like accomplished so much with so little. Like Moonlight, like such a small
Yeah,
budget, such a
it's
small world. Yeah. Again, like that small world stuff is sometimes like the most effective because I find like the bigger the cast and the bigger the world, the more loose ends there are and the more
mm,
um inconsistencies and the more useless characters
yeah,
and yeah.
it's definitely like a horror. I think kind of horrors having like smaller budgets. Like you're not going to have like an Infinity War style budget for a horror movie, and I think that's
Right.
honestly because I think that's probably a good thing in
Mhm.
in making a horror movie successful because you know the scariest I think what makes a horror movie really good is when it plays on like your imagination and when because what
Yeah.
you're imagining and what it like hints towards is way scarier and way more interesting than any sort of like CG kind of creation that they could throw
Totally.
together. I mean that's obviously great for like a climax, but the building of the like kind of like how because we had recently just watched the original Alien.
Great
um,
movie.
Cause, yeah, because Sarah hadn't seen any of those, um, and I just had kind of forgotten just how long it is from like when the table scene like the scene happens with
Mhm.
like when it first kind of appears in its adult form, to when you see it again. I mean, it's just like it's a good 15-20 minutes
Slow burn,
where
yeah.
you don't see it, and it's just like this whole time you're just like this thing could be anywhere. We don't know what it does. It has acid blood. We're
Yeah.
on a spaceship. Like just it's kind of like how Jaws was like by necessity they kind of had to hide the shark because because it's a frumpy looking kind of thing up close.
Right.
But it ultimately like I think I mean, those. I guess some of those horror movies generally have been so successful, or like really effective horror movies for me are ones that aren't afraid to really kind of have a slow burn.
Yeah, and like that's something that a lot of modern horror movies do really badly is they show the monster way too much at like in the third act and then you are not scared of it anymore. Like Insidious is one of those movies where like the first like two acts of that movie are scary as fuck and like really good and then in the third act they show the main demon so much that he becomes like funny.
It looks like one of those weird episodes of SpongeBob where it's like the people.
Yeah.
Or they have like that weird pirate. It's like, oh, here's my weird devil friend. It's like, wait, oh, it's man, I
Right.
should go watch that movie again. That movie's pretty good, and it's because it's playing the weird music too, and it just keeps going. It's like, what? This is going on a real trip, man. This is
Yeah.
great.
And that's another thing that's so good about It Follows is like not only does it fall into like the category of like movies that use real things to be scary, like not CGI because they're literally using people, but also because it's a different person every time, you never like get tired of it. Like you never have that feeling of like, oh, I've seen this scary face before a million
Hmm.
times. It's like a new face every single time, which is so ingenious because then it's never not scary. Um,
Yeah, and just having like kind of the behavior and like how
yeah,
distinctly non-human it is. It's
yeah,
like even though it does look different, it's like it's still scary just because like you recognize that behavior, and it's like by the time it's like from a distance, it's like, well, I don't know, but then it's like, oh no, wait, I know what's going on here.
See, that is why I am waiting for a good scary doll movie, because that like Inhuman, I forget what it's called, but there's like that the reason why people are afraid of dolls is because they're human like but they're not human, and that really unsettles us. And that's why
kind of like an uncanny. I think it's called like the uncanny valley.
Yeah, something like that.
Kind of what that concept is called.
But dolls are terrifying, and I'm waiting for a good scary doll movie, and there hasn't been one. Annabelle was garbage. Chucky is just hilarious. Like there's never been a good like scary doll movie, and there needs to be one. I'm saying it right now, calling to all you horror directors, make an actual scary doll movie, please.
That's a very specific but very reasonable request. I can respect that.
I think so. I think it's reasonable. I mean, you could probably make that pretty low budget too.
Dolls are scary as hell.
They really truly are. Really and truly. I'm trying to think. Oh, I watched a really good, if you're into like micro budget horror, I watched a really good one with my roommate the other day called The Monster. It just came out like last year, and there's literally like 4 people in the cast. It's mostly just about a mother and a daughter, and it's like really low budget. It uses mostly like puppetry instead of CGI. It's like a kind of like a classic monster movie. Really, really good. Good writing too. That's one that flew under the radar for sure.
Yeah, it sounds interesting. I'll have to check it out. And I'm also probably due up for my semi-annual rewatch of The Thing, because I think if I had to pick a favorite horror movie, I think that's probably one of my favorites. Just even if it's not like, it's kind of not no, it's a horror movie. Well, first of all, because it has Kurt Russell, who's
amazing.
I like me some Kurt Russell. I don't know if I agree with him about a lot of things, but man, like Kurt Russell knows how to ham it up and just be a cool guy action dude when he needs to be, and it's just
yes, he does. I haven't watched that movie in a really long time. I'm gonna have to rewatch it too. I love that era of horror though. Like 70s, 80s horror is like my favorite.
With all the practical effects in that movie are like, because definitely like CG. I mean, because we're so used to like CG now, so something like that isn't. I don't know if it's as effective like as something like, because like the physical like just some of the stuff that they do in that movie, it's just like, oh god, this is so, oh my god, this is so disgusting, gross. Ew.
And
like,
I don't know if exactly when you think of that movie, there's one scene that you think of distinctively that like that head falling off and turning into a spider. Like every time I think about The Thing,
it's so gross.
That's the only thing I can think about when I think of that movie. That's how much it stuck with me. But God. Yeah,
and like. Yeah, and there's just so many good classic scenes in that one. Like, I still cannot get over, like, the blood test, because they're like, oh, like, it's like, okay, well, we know one of these guys, but it's like, oh, this is, okay, well, everyone's kind of taking this reasonable, but then it's like, as soon as that guy fails his test, he's like,
yeah.
And, that's such a good.
I love it. I love that whole era. I love Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I love Friday the 13th. I love Nightmare on Elm Street. There's just something I love so much about that movie. And
honestly,
it's not even like that.
I don't know if I've seen that. I should probably go watch it.
Oh, you've got to watch Nightmare on Elm Street. Mm-hmm. It is so great. Like, it's not, I wouldn't call it scary. There are definitely scenes that are super unsettling, but it's not, there's not even really a lot of jump scares. It's just like such like a cool idea. Like putting yourself like back in that time and like watching
conceptually,
a movie.
It's just like,
yeah, watching a movie about a guy who can kill you in your dreams. Like, how awesome is that? That is so cool. But I love that. I love that about like old horror movies, that you can like put yourself back in that time and be like, even if you're not scared now, like, whoa, this would have like totally made me shit my pants if I had been a teenager in 1980.
Yeah, like, I mean, because we're so desensitized as millennials, right, so we have no idea what yeah. But like, it is like contextually, it's really cool to think about, kind of those big moments in film.
Yeah.
History, like the other, like how, well, I guess when people were like, holy shit, what do you mean Darth Vader is Luke's father. Like, that's kind of like it's just like through cultural osmosis, you can't have that. I mean, it's just you just know it these days. Like, it's not even like a spoiler anymore. It's just like it's just you just know it.
Right. They've had to get really creative with twists, or like the twist is that there is no twist because everyone's just like always like, I know what the twist is. Like, I've already predicted it. You know.
I'm looking at you, Westworld.
I haven't watched the final episode yet. I literally watched the entire first season except the last episode.
Huh. Okay.
I know. Well, that show is like, I like it, but at the same time, it's like a chore to watch, you know? Like, you really have to, like, because it's one of those shows that you cannot look away from for a second, or you miss some, like, crucial piece of information.
Yeah.
So you have to, like, be ready to just, like, put your phone down and just, like, watch for an hour uninterrupted. Yeah. And you know what? Sometimes I just can't do that.
Westworld, you ask too much of me. and I think I also had a problem. I liked Westworld, but I think just the subreddit, like, I was like, oh, I like the first episode. Let's go see what the subreddit thinks. And the subreddit's like, oh, well, I've actually already figured out the entire season, blah. And I'm just like, oh. I guess that makes the little... That's, like, actually probably exactly... Yep, okay. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, I guess I'm just kind of along for the ride here.
Right. And now, like, now shows are starting to, like, operate on the basis that, like, that kind of thing exists. Like, that kind of prediction exists. Like, with The Walking Dead, like, they had their big... I'm sure you heard about this even if you didn't watch it, but they had their big, like, huge cliffhanger at the end of last season where you didn't know who was going to die. And, like, everyone was like, this is so cheap. Like, this is so stupid. And, like, I agree. But also, it was completely... Like, everyone also loved it because, like, secretly, because then they could, like, predict who was gonna die. And they had all this time to, like, to theorize and, like, look over all the episodes and, like, figure out, like, ooh, like, they're pointing to this person, they're pointing to this person. And everybody did that, even though they whined about the fact that the producers made this choice. And, yeah, they fall right into their trap. But it's really weird how, like, entertainment has kind of morphed into, like, the social media world. Like, everything is, like, released and made, like, with social media in mind, and it's really
and strange. Like, because I mean, it's definitely kind of go off of that. Like, I saw that some of, like, the Stranger Things guys for season 2, like, they're burning daily show notes, like, for shooting. Like, they don't throw them away; they have to burn them.
Oh
like,
my God.
just to, like, and Game of Thrones has been having, like, drones, like, on trying to, like, fly close to set to, like, for people to take pictures, like, oh my God, this character's alive, or something like that, which is just, like, that's, I mean, it's kind of cool, but, like, it's, what? Like, that's so wild, like.
It is wild.
It's really, it's, like, I guess it's kind of, like, interesting how, I mean, TV especially, just how, like, interactive feels like not a strong enough word, but, like, how much, I mean, how I recently, I think I've been watching, I watched, like, the first episode of Legion. It's like an FX show. And I watched it and it was like, there's so much going on. It's like, I mean, it's like, for me, it was just like, I get it, but, like, there's just a lot going on here, and I'm not really attached to anybody just yet. But I go into the subreddit, and they're freaking out. It's like, oh, this hint is, like, actually this guy, he's like the Yellow King, and from, like, this character from X-Men, and I hear, like, that one of the producers of the show was spotted having breakfast with, like, Sir Patrick Stewart, and was like, oh my God, like, I'm already, like, it's like, not only do I have to catch up with the show, it's like I have to catch up with, like, the community. It's just like, holy crap, like, we're at peak TV. It's like, wow.
It's, I know, it's nuts. And, like, how much social currency there is around, like, whether you've watched a TV show or not. Like, I've never watched Legion, but it's one of those shows, like, that everyone's like, watch this. And if you don't, they're like, but why? And I'm like, Maybe it's because there's literally hundreds of TV shows on,
I
and there's
know,
like too
and
much. Like you can't watch everything, and it's like socially unacceptable if you haven't watched certain
I know,
things.
and that's the that's it's like that's the great crisis of our age at peak TV. It's like, and of course I have the I'm someone who watches the name droppiest of all name dropping shows. Like, oh, did you watch The Americans last night? Pretty relevant these days.
Oh, yes, they do. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
That's actually a really good show. It's I mean,
I need to
sidebar.
give.
The pace is glacial. It is just so
I'm
slow.
fine with that because I watched the most glacial. One of my favorite shows on right now, actually just ended, is the most glacial on the planet. Rectify. Have you watched Rectify?
I haven't.
You've got to watch that. That's like it's about a guy who is convicted of raping and killing his girlfriend at 18, goes to jail, is on death row for like 18 years, 19 years, and then he gets acquitted because there's like new evidence, and he like lives in this really small southern town, and like everyone's like divided on like whether he did it or not, and it's basically just about him like re like joining society, and like you don't know if he did it or if he really did it or not, and like you don't like does his family think that he did it? I don't know. Like it's really good. You should check it out. It's a Sundance Channel show, and like nobody watches it, but super good. It's on
Sundance
Netflix.
Channel.
Yeah. Ooh, Sundance Channel. Yeah, exactly. I win. I win in the. Ooh, I
That's
win.
pretty good. I know, like my show was on basic cable, but man, I don't even know how to get the Sundance Channel. Like, what?
Yeah, Netflix, man. It's on Netflix. Watch it.
Oh, okay, there
But
you go.
Americans is one I have to get back into. I watched like the first I do this all the time where I'll like watch a show like the first couple episodes. I'll be like, that was awesome. I have to keep watching this, and then I just forget about it. And then I
Yeah,
never watch it
definitely.
again.
Like, it's just there's just too much. Like,
There is too
I mean, because
much.
that's kind of like I was interested in Legion, like, and I hear good things about it, but it's just like I just don't have the time. I mean, it's like it's kind of the same thing I have like going on like with. I mean, I'm going to mention it on like our game podcast. It's just like there's just too many. There's just too much hashtag content and just not enough time to hashtag consume hashtag content.
The video game struggle is real because I seriously play games 5 years after they come out. Like I just played Skyrim for the first time, and when did that come out? Like 2011. Like I'm very behind.
Oh God, it did. Yeah, it came out when I was like a June. I think we were juniors in college.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that makes me feel. Oh boy, that's weird.
But I won't go off. I could talk about video games, but I won't go off on a video game tangent because that's for a video game podcast. And this is
Creed Got Robbed, a film podcast.
Yes.
Trying to rectify the 2016 Oscars and the great crime that occurred. Continue.
What were we just talking about? TV. Yeah.
Peak TV. And the problems.
Yeah. And I actually have a lot more to say about TV than movies because I want to be a TV writer. Like that's what I focus on. I mostly write TV stuff. But I could talk about TV forever. But yeah, it's just like it's overwhelming how much stuff is on, and it's what's even more overwhelming is like I won't even get into like the superhero shows because all their stupid like crossovers, like Luke Cage crosses over with Jessica Jones, crosses over with Iron Fist. Like it's too fucking much, man. Like
it's like I just have kind of written off like the Marvel Netflix stuff. Like I like the Marvel movies. Like I think they're pretty like entertaining. Like you know, blockbustery stuff. And it's a hell of a lot better than the DC stuff. My God. But like the TV show. I mean, first of all, it's like. Okay, we're in peak TV. You don't have to be 13. You don't have to have 13 episodes when you have 8 episodes of story. Like you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Like, people are okay if it's like if it's just 8 episodes of TV instead of 13 hours of not. But it's like I think we watched the first season of Daredevil, which is just the pacing is just bad. And we thought Jessica Jones was all right. But I couldn't get through Daredevil season 2, and I think I watched like an episode or 2 of Luke Cage, which I think had some good parts, but it's just like, and I just hear it just dives down a cliff, and then Iron Fist is just a real. I've there's just a whole lot to unpack there, with like the whitewashing, I saw a clip of like a fight scene that had literally like 50 cuts within 60 seconds.
Oh God.
Just like, I'm like, oh my God. Like, oh, Jesus Christ. Like, how does that happen? Like,
I know. Well, it's that, you know what it is? It's that, and I could go back to Beauty and the Beast for this. Or, yeah, Beauty and the Beast, La La Land, like, and this, and that show for this is like, stop casting big names for roles that they can't do. Like, love Emma Watson, think she's a fantastic actress. She can't sing. Emma Stone, slightly better, still could have cast a Broadway person. Why didn't they cast somebody who at least kind of knows martial arts for the Iron Fist? Like, why did they have to cast, God, I don't remember his name in Game of Thrones. What is his name?
I'm just going to search Game of Thrones Iron Fist, dude.
Sir Loras, yeah. Why did they cast him? Why didn't they just, like, find somebody who kind of did martial arts and acted? You know what I mean? Like, it's that star power thing that, like, really ruins things.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, no offense to Finn Jones, the actor, but I mean, Finn Jones is hearing Finn Jones is in a Netflix series, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And that's the thing of peak TV. It's just like, there's no time for mediocrity. There's no chance for it.
I know. Well, and the statistics,
and you guys are really going to be, you mediocre TV shows are going to be in real trouble when the Venture Brothers comes back. Well, because then I will definitely not care about your not great TV show.
Well, you know what's really sad is like there's so many TV shows on right now, and like for every TV show that's made, like 10 pilots are shot and like 100 scripts are bought. So, like, there are so many projects that, like, are either not developed at all or had a pilot and never went. And, like, so, like, the amount of stuff out there is just insane. Like, and some of the stuff that, with the wealth of content that's out there, some of the stuff that's getting made is, like, there's no excuse for it. Like, with the access to material that production studios have, like, there's just no excuse for things like Iron Fist to happen. Like, we know too much about effective storytelling and about what is acceptable to do, not whitewashing, It's just ridiculous that stuff like that is still made.
Yeah, and I think definitely, like, there's actually been, like, stuff that I think one of the better things about, quote, peak TV, it just has been how, I mean, just you can find something that's really great, like, anywhere. Like, you don't have to go to, wait for HBO to come out with like True Detective season 2, which was, my God, just a nightmare. But so it's like HBO is doing that, but then you look at like CW, like the CW, like what has the CW ever done? And they're running a show like Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, which is a great show.
Yeah,
like, I love that show.
Yeah,
and so it's really cool to see, like, I guess, shows and places that maybe wouldn't get attention from something like an HBO or like a Showtime or something, pop up in like weird places like Amazon Prime Video or, like the CW or like, I don't know, TV Land or something like that.
Yeah,
like,
TV
it's really
Land.
cool to see.
Yeah, and Lifetime has Unreal, which I've watched a couple episodes of. That show is good. And Lifetime you only think of as like the pregnancy packed TV movie channel, and here they are creating like Emmy worthy TV content. Like, it's crazy. Everybody has a skin in the game at this point.
Yeah, like it's not to be like, oh, everyone good in film knows that real art happens on television these days, but it's really crazy to see just like the star power that is coming to TV. Like I think my favorite show last year, which was like The People versus O.J. Simpson.
I haven't watched that yet.
They had they have like Cuba Gooding Jr. They have Ross from Friends, who obviously that's his real name. That's definitely not
Ross
just the character.
Friends.
But
yeah.
no,
David Schwimmer.
That's his real Mr. David Schwimmer. Yeah, Mr. Ross from Friends. John Travolta, like, just people that you wouldn't really expect it to have on like a basic cable, what was once back in the good old days, the like basic cable show. But here they are, and I thought it was just one of the best things I've ever watched on TV. It's like Oh, it's really good.
Yeah, and it's really, really weird because there's this phenomenon where like studios are less afraid to take chances on TV. I mean, some studios are still afraid, like the NBC, CBS. They still do like
Yeah,
the most
definitely, like your broadcast
like
stuff.
snore worthy shows, but like studios are less afraid to take chances on TV than they are with movies, even though TV shows probably end up costing a lot more in the end. Like, I would think to shoot a whole
Mhm.
season of a TV show is probably more money than a average movie. I might be wrong there. Don't quote me on that. Well, it's in the podcast now,
Yeah,
so you are quoting me on
it
it, but
definitely kind of it can definitely probably vary, based on like I mean, like when especially when you compare something like Game of Thrones versus like I don't know, like a film like Moonlight. Like it's crazy just how much variety. It's like and you would never
yeah.
see anything like that, you know, kind of in a pre Game of Thrones era. But I guess when you go back and think about like shows like I guess broadcast TV's been pretty good about like I know people really enjoy things like Empire,
Mm-hmm.
but it's definitely like they've kind of been struggling lately. Like I mean, we're tragically past the days of like 30 Rock um and like
Right.
Lost, but it's I just haven't seen it's interesting that things like they were almost like I don't want to say ahead of the curve, but there was some good stuff happening on your good old like rabbit ears TV for a good long time, and it seems like
Yeah, totally.
I wonder if they'll recapture that mojo. We'll see.
Yeah, I think probably they did what they could within the bounds of what the network would allow them to do, and they were allowed to be like revolutionary to a point. And sometime in the last like 10 years, they hit that point and couldn't go any further. Like around like the Lost era, like you were saying, like they just couldn't go any further. Or like with Friends, like Friends was about as sexual as they were ever gonna get with a multicam. You know what I mean? Like, and they
Right.
or like Will and Grace, like that. Like that's about as far as those boundaries are ever gonna push. You know. And so now it's up to like the HBOs and the AMC's of the entertainment industry to like continue to push the envelope because they're actually allowed. But
hmm And then
yeah,
all of this, of course, it's just there's so much to like unpack and talk about here because all of this is happening with like the cord cutting and like the I mean, because networks are like clinging to like live sports for dear life to like
yeah,
keep subscribers, and it's
yep,
like it's gonna be really weird when all that stuff kind of finally. I mean, because I know that I've seen a lot of reports about like they're working like we're not that far away from having basically like a Netflix style approach to like Netflix having like doing a deal with the NBA and getting like I don't know like a Wednesday night primetime game or something like that like
yeah.
through Netflix. Like I don't think that's that far off, which is gonna be. I mean, it's just gonna put this big. It's just gonna. I mean, in case we haven't already made it clear,
Uh,
and it's only gonna get weirder, which I think might be good.
yeah, yeah. I think it's good. I mean, I think everyone's afraid of that kind of change. I mean, the newspaper industry that's like almost dead, but like
Mm,
it's worse in some ways because writers don't quite have the same job security as they did when newspapers were big. But it's better in other ways where news is a little more competitive and we there are a lot more sources to get our news from, and we have it in
mm.
right in the palm of our hand every second of every day. That's nice, but yeah, I mean,
And
with
news has been doing okay lately. They've
yeah,
for
yeah,
reasons.
right for
There
reasons,
there
yeah,
reasons.
reasons, yeah, Mr. Burns fingers,
Mm, reasons.
but
Fingering Mr. Burns. Yeah,
yes,
that's what the kids call it these days. Yeah.
yep, yeah,
hmm
but I mean, Netflix is great because also it like I mean, back in the day, like if you missed a TV show, like if like a TV show was on when you were 10 years old and you weren't old enough to watch it, like you would have never gotten to watch it unless you like rented the DVDs from the library when they came in. Like, but now you can go back and be like, oh, here's that cool show that was like the most revolutionary show ever, like 15 years ago, and here it is on Netflix, and I can just watch it. You know what I mean? Like,
I know.
I find myself doing that. Like, I'll go back. Like, I never had access to HBO until like the past couple years, and so I went back and watched like 6 Feet Under and like 10 Years Too Late, and it was like one of the best things I've ever seen, even though it's like 10 or 15 years old now. So
yeah, like definitely some of that. It's cool. It's crazy just how like again, it's just like there's just too much. Like
there is too much.
It's. I really hope that these. I always get worried. I'm like, oh my god, the show isn't getting all these viewers. What are they gonna do? But it's like, just it's almost like they're just. I don't even know. There's just too much. I don't know.
Yeah,
and
that's.
Celia, we haven't even started talking about the YouTube original content.
Oh my god, I heard. You like web series stuff? Like, well, I mean, I have something to say about web series because I did a web series, Young Hillary. But
Young Hillary.
Yeah, it's weird because I think web series like keep trying to break into like people's daily lives, but like I don't know what it is, but web series have been around for a long time, but they still haven't really taken hold in like all like in regular society. Like HBO is now a thing that normal everyday people watch, but like my mom doesn't get online and go watch web series on YouTube. You know what I mean? Unless I tell her to.
It's like that stuff is gonna. That's kind of what I guess what I'm thinking here is like eventually there's gonna be a point where that stuff just kind of blends in. Like you just pay like your YouTube premium subscription or like on Netflix like. What at a certain point it's like, is this a web series or is it a TV show? It's like it's not really it wasn't really broadcast on TV. It doesn't have like a full 26 episode order, so it's like the lines are kind of blurring. And I think
I guess that is true that like cool. You can't really
kind of weird.
Yeah, it is true that like what is the difference between a web series and a TV show? Like that's true. But I mean, I still think that people, at least in my industry, a lot of people don't see web series as like like what they want to do, but just like a means to an end. Like Broad City is a good example where like they had their web series for like 2 years on YouTube, and then like Amy Poehler watched it and loved it, and then now they have an actual TV show on Comedy Central.
Yeah.
So I think web series are still kind of stuck in that weird gray area where like because they don't really make money. That's the problem, is like you can't make money that way. So then people just make web series in order to get writing, jobs on actual TV shows or to get acting jobs on TV shows, So maybe once people want to watch web series enough that they can actually charge people for it, maybe then it will be profitable. But right now someday.
Well, I'm looking at the time and I think we had a lot of talking. I think I don't know about you, but I think that was a pretty good pod. I think I might call it here.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, hey, this has been an episode of Creed Got Robbed. You can find us in, Josh usually does the rant about the places you can find us, but if you're listening to this and you made it this far, you know where to find us. So this was super fun. You should come back and talk to us sometime.
I would love
me
to. And maybe we can have like a crossover podcast with your video game one, and I'll talk about video games and movies.
Yes, it is. We were just joking the last time. It's just like the unscripted conglomerate. It's happening.
Yes.
They won't expect our Tic Tac Toe podcast until it's right there. But get ready, folks. It's coming.
Get ready.
It's coming down the pipeline. Prepare for content.
Summer 2017, the Tic Tac Toe podcast.
Just wait until they get to the post-credit scene. It's a real doozy.
All right. Well, thank you for having me, Mike.
Yeah, no problem, Celia. And don't forget, everybody, Creed got robbed.